We're here in Randolph, Vermont, where a group of high school girls is facing backlash for daring to speak out against a biological male using their locker room.
The school system is failing the volleyball girls. They are putting the trans students' needs above ours because it is one person against the 14 other on the team.
I sat down with some of these girls, and they tell me that they bear no ill will towards this trans-identifying student. But they don't understand why they have to share a locker room with a biological male.
I have to revisit this story. I talked about this in another video about 8 days ago or so. This high school in Randolph, Vermont, where the girls were uncomfortable. The girls volleyball players were uncomfortable because they have a trans female on their team. Not because there's a trans female on the team, but because this trans person is able to change in the same locker room with the biological girls. So one girl complained. In turn, the school punished the entire volleyball team, telling them they need to change somewhere else because obviously the trans student has more rights. Well, now more players have come forward, I'm assuming because their parents allowed them to get their message out there that they don't care if there's a transgender student, female, on their team. What they do care about is a biological male in their locker room, watching them undress, watching them change their clothes, maybe watching them shower. They feel uncomfortable because they're young girls, but the school seems to think, that's okay. This transgender student has more rights. A reporter from the Daily Signal went to the school and met up with some of the girls and spoke to them. And this is what they had to say.
I was in our locker room when volleyball girls were trying to get changed. After I asked him to leave, he didn't. And later looked over at girls with their shirts off, and it made many people uncomfortable and feel violated. I left as soon as I could in a panic.
I was the first one inside the locker room at the time, and the trans student came in and walked into a separate part of the locker room and went and changed while the other girls were in the main part of the locker room changing as well. As soon as the trans-identifying student was done changing, they came out and stood at the entrance of the locker room for a little bit. A lot of the girls were changing in their sports bras and stuff. A lot of us stated, like, can you please get out? We're changing, we don't feel comfortable with you in here. After a little while, the student did leave, but it took a little bit for the student to leave, and a lot of us were not comfortable.
Superintendent quoted another student saying that nobody was changing when the trans-identifying student...
That's not true.
That's not true.
A lot of the girls were changing, actually.
And when you say they were changing, does it mean like they had their shirts off, they were in their underwear?
Everyone was at like different points of changing. Some girls were already dressed, some girls weren't dressed at all, some girls were like in the middle of changing, like.
So why would someone say that they weren't?
I feel like everyone's just trying to twist the story on us and make us look like the bad people in this situation.
So again, these girls are not against having a trans student on their team. They basically could care less, but they are against being in a locker room that is for females and having this male in there while they undress, while they clean themselves, while they shower, while they do whatever. It is inappropriate for these young girls to have to be in their locker room with a boy, because that's what the transgender female is. It's a boy. And because he chose to say he's a girl because he wanted to play volleyball, I'm guessing he wasn't good enough to play on the boys' team, so he became a girl, just like Leah Thomas did at Penn State. Now he's allowed to change in their locker room. So the school is continuing to punish these girls and not allow them to use their own women's locker room so this boy can have it all to himself. And you heard one of the girls say he has seen them in all different stages of dress or undress, changing, putting on their shorts or their pants in sports bras, and that's inappropriate. But the school superintendent said they're lying. The student was never in there when they were changing. Well, how does the superintendent know? Was the superintendent in there? No, the superintendent got this information from the transgender student, and they chose to believe the transgender student. As far as they're concerned, the entire volleyball team is lying. They do not want this person in their locker room because it's a boy. And that could be further from the truth. These are 14 and 15-year-old girls. They just want to go to school and participate and play a sport. And that's it. They don't care that this boy thinks he's a girl and he wants to play on their team. They actually welcomed the trans student on their team. But because this boy decides he's a girl, now he's allowed to go in the locker room with the girls, and the school is okay with it. Because after all, it's the law. Because we all know transgender females have more rights than biological females. These parents need to get together and file some kind of suit against this school, this community, whoever is in charge, because their children are not being allowed to use a room that was designated for women, for girls. They're being punished because they don't like the fact that a transgender female with a penis is in their locker room with them when they are changing. Now, supposedly, these people who run this show are adults. Well, they're woke adults. They're adults who are going to go along with all of this transgender nonsense because, after all, they want to keep their jobs or they want to keep their elected position. They don't want to go against the trans community because then they'll be bashed as transphobic. This has nothing at all to do with transphobia or this. The girls just don't like this kid. They don't want him on the team. These people need to wake up and take care of the students. The biological girls have every right to be in the room designated for girls. The transgender female does not have a right to be in the room designated for girls because she is a boy. I don't know what the beef is. Give this single person their own space if you're going to push this agenda and have these people participate in sports with another biological group, this one being females. Give the transgender dude his own space and let these kids just be kids. These people are insistent on poisoning the minds of children today and wanting them to believe that boys can be girls. How many times do I have to talk about it, or the thousands of other people who, quite frankly, don't believe in this? How many times do people have to talk about this? If this is what you want to be involved in, that's fine, but give them their own space. They have no rights to be in a room with all biological girls. They are not girls. They do not have female DNA. They do not have female genitalia. They cannot have babies or have menstrual cycles like females. So they are not females. These so-called adults, so-called superintendent, and whoever else is involved in this garbage need to either lose their jobs for not allowing this group of girls to have their space, or they need to wake up and say, you know what? The kids are right. They're uncomfortable with a boy in there. We're going to give the boy or the transgender female his or her own space to change. And then the problem will go away. These kids aren't transphobic. These kids are not comfortable with a guy in there with a penis watching them get undressed. And that is common sense. That's reality. These are young kids. Let them be kids and stop with this trans bullshit. Allow it all you want, but designate a space that the trans kids can have to change their clothes or go to the bathroom or do whatever they need to do because they don't belong in rooms, locker rooms, bathrooms with the biological sex of another when they are not that. And that's it. Enough's enough. Let these kids just be kids and end it. If you haven't already liked this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, share my videos with someone. I appreciate that. Drop a comment. Let me know how you feel about this issue. And I hope everybody's healthy and safe. And I'll see you again real soon with something else. Have a great day.